Our next Mannerist artist is Jacopo da Pontormo, and this here is an altarpiece called the Deposition, or the Entombment of Christ. You'll see it in both titles because, well, as a Mannerist piece, it is very ambiguous, and so it could be considered an atonement or a deposition. We'll get into the details of that in a bit, but let me help establish this. It is still in its original location, which is the Capponi Chapel in the Church of Santa Felicita in Florence, Italy. So there it is as it stands today. Now, immediately, we see not only the size and scale of the figures, which are around life size, but we should also appreciate the color palette. Do you see those sour colors that strike out at us? Okay, yes, I granted. The image I'm giving you, it's very dark on the outside with a giant spotlight inside. The grill here is to keep out those who are not part of the Capponi family. But here, let's make a comparison between a Mannerist work and a Renaissance work of the same subject. So this is from the Renaissance, not just anybody, this is Mr. Perfect, Raphael. And what we see in Raphael's entombment or deposition from the cross, we see the dead body of Jesus being carried away from the cross. The crucifixion has happened and he is being deposited or removed from the cross and being carried to the tomb, the entombment. We have a beautiful landscape in the background with atmospheric perspective, and the figures and their facial expressions, their gestures, are all there to help lead the eye through and understand this moment. All right, what is happening in Pontormo? We see the dead body of Christ, but we don't see cross, the crucifixion. Where is that cross? It's gone. Where's the tomb? Well, it's not there either. So instead, we are in an ambiguous space, an ambiguous moment. Now we see these two figures carrying the large body of Christ, and he is being placed or removed from his mother's lap. What? Okay, let's get into this a little bit more with the bullet points. Okay. Imbalanced composition and ambiguous space. The imbalance of this composition is that there is no linear perspective. The atmospheric perspective, well, how can you say that's atmosphere? One cloud? I don't understand. Where are we? What's going on here? The ambiguous space is this a floating world of clouds? Is that rock? Where are these people standing? Is this person on a rock behind her looking over? Are they floating? Are they an angel? Okay. What about the imbalanced composition? There is no resting point for your eye. Similar to what we saw in Michelangelo's Last Judgment, there is this circle of movement, and the center of the painting is filled not with a face or the body of Christ, but instead the back of a hand. This woman here, Veronica, she was known to have wiped the face of Christ with a cloth, and his face was then imprinted on this cloth. But we're not seeing that miracle. We don't see her face. We don't see the face of Jesus on the cloth. Instead, we have the back of her hand. It's unsettling. More characteristics that make this Mannerist. The distorted human forms, exaggerated poses, and the staged and awkward movement. Well, first off, look at these figures that Pontormo has painted. They're tiny heads and their tiny hands and tiny feet, and then their long bodies are not correct. They are not accurate. Is that because Pontormo doesn't know how to paint? Is that because Pontormo doesn't know what a body looks like? No. He's doing that on purpose. He's highlighting other elements. He's minimizing the head and the hands and the feet to make them more delicate, more petite, more refined, more mannerist. And then he exaggerates the bodies. Like, look at Jesus's torso. It's extremely long and wide. That is because we're supposed to be looking at the body of Christ. We're supposed to be standing in front of this altar and thinking of his sacrifice of his life. So the exaggerated or distorted human forms are there to be intentional stylizations. Think about it. Like, think about your favorite illustrators or your favorite cartoons. There's a style to them, and that's intentional. Pontormo has stylized his figures. It's intentional to create this sense of delicate elegance and grace of the figures. The exaggerated poses can be seen in, well, all of them. We have this figure of Veronica as she reaches forward with the cloth, and then look at her delicate feet as she points that toe. Mary, now she's either about to receive her son in her lap or he has just been taken off of her lap. That is a very specific moment. It's the pietà. It's that moment of piety. It's pity. It is when the Virgin Mary holds her dead son in her lap. Now, has it happened? Or is it about to happen? We don't know. We don't know. And that's the point. Pontormo doesn't want to establish a specific time or moment. So we look at her in this exaggerated pose as she reaches out. Is that a reach of, my baby is going? Or is it, bring him to me? Look at the figures here that hold Jesus's body. This is a grown man, and this is dead weight. And this guy is managing it on tiptoes, the tip of the big toe, to carry this massive figure on his shoulders. And look at his back. I really hope that your back doesn't bend that way. Again, you might be thinking, ugh, Pontormo just doesn't know how a back bends. He doesn't know how a body moves. He's a bad painter. No, the bend of that body, that exaggerated movement, is there to emphasize the body of Christ, that heavy weight, that burden, but at the same time is being held up with such grace and elegance, almost effortless, as if he's filled with air or helium. And this whole scene and this ambiguous moment is very staged, very awkward, right? I'll just give you more of those details that we've seen. Now, why? Why? Why would you want to see this? Why would this happen? Some students will ask me, this is awful. I loved the Renaissance, and now all of these rules are being broken. What's the point of it? Is it just because they don't care? It's because they're trying to give you a different emotion. What we saw in the Renaissance was extremely realistic, pulling at your sense of understanding of the natural world. And now, in the Mannerist, we're trying to tap into a more spiritual awareness. And the figures, this ambiguous space, these distorted forms, their lack of weight, they're supposed to be like a vision appearing before you out of a gray miasma. The colors are disorienting. They're not comforting. They're not something that we see from the natural world. Look at these like hot neon orange and pinks. Look at this pale pink shirt on this pale peach flesh next to this sage olive green sash. Over here, look at Look at that. Oh man, this lime green that blends into this dark olive green next to this hot orange pink. It's unsettling. The colors are unsettling, and that is on purpose because as you stand in front of this altarpiece, it's as if these figures are appearing before you in some kind of a vision. Now, I like this image because it gives you the setting. I don't like this image because it's giving you this big, bright electric light on the altarpiece. This was painted before electricity. So I need you to imagine instead that there are candelabras or big fat oil lamps in this space. Think of that hot, warm candlelight, the flame flickering, the smoke collecting in this space, and standing in front of it, those flames dancing light across the altarpiece, it does appear like a vision. Instead of tapping into your sense of reason and logic, Pontormo's asking you to break from that, to tap into your faith. So mannerism, it can get a lot of critics who don't like it because they prefer the rules of the Renaissance, but you need to appreciate it as another form of visual communication, looking at the world through a different lens to get a different reaction out of you. Oh, and then one more thing, because I told you artists, they love to put selfies in there. That's Pontormo. It's him in the back right there. Oh, goodness.